After a thrilling race and an interesting race at Dover last night for the NASCAR Cup Series, it is now time for the NASCAR Busch Series to take way at the Monster Mile for the running of the Dover 200. 7 races to go in our Busch Series season in our Do It for Dale Series, trying to get Dale Jr. his 3rd career NASCAR Busch Series championship in this 2005 season. He comes in trailing Clint Bowyer by 174 points and is about to take qualifying for the first time. 2 laps to try to set the quick time. Track position will matter. Handling is going to be at a very limited, and we'll see who is going to win today's race nonetheless as well. 200 miles, 200 laps will be the scheduled distance for tonight's race. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get into tonight's full race live stream realistic commentary coverage on the NASCAR video game side of things. I will be doing live commentary on Sunday for the real race for the NASCAR Cup Series. That will start at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. And also, potentially, might get off of work early tomorrow to do a live commentary of the Xfinity Series race tomorrow afternoon. So be on the lookout in the community tab for that, but I could be potentially doing a live commentary stream for the Xfinity Series race at Watkins Glen as well tomorrow, if I still get home early enough from work. It's going to depend on the weather as well tomorrow from where I live. So be on the lookout. That could be a stream potentially tomorrow afternoon, but we've got business to deal with here tonight first. And we'll see where Dale Jr. will qualify at Dover. He qualified on the pole in the Cup Series, but only led 16 laps and finished 12th. Did not run that well at all. He's going to need a much better run. Again, 2nd in points today versus the points leader in the Cup Series. We have less races to go in the Busch Series than the Cup Series, and Dale Jr. is at a pretty big points deficit. He's not going to take the points lead no matter what happens today because he is too far back. Clint Bowyer still got just over a 1 race lead in the point standings. And we'll see who will take the rivalry at Dover. 9 wins for Dale Jr., 8 for Clint Bowyer going in to the 29th race of the season. Bentley Potts, Wade Selinsky, Patrick Shadley, Charles Sasser, Asai Azia, and others, welcome into the stream. Made some adjustments in practice, made some adjustments following practice, entering qualifying. We'll see what that will do for Dale Jr. By himself, he feels confident. Clean air, he feels confident, but when he's having a battle for position, that's where things can get treacherous today, and he's going to try to stay ahead of the pack. We had a record 23 cautions in the NASCAR Cup Series race last night at Dover. In that second chase race, Mike Bliss went on to win, getting his first career win. Of course, qualifying for the chase and moved himself up to 4th in points. Junior is going risky for it down on the bottom of the racetrack through turns 3 and 4. He's trying to get the pole time. Quick lap going for him. Pole for Dale Jr. in lap 1, 22.866. He's going to run lap 2 as well just because he wants that extra lap of practice. He may need it. And we'll see if he can pick up. Hugging the bottom all the way through the corner. He might not hug the bottom that much in the race like he did on that first lap of qualifying, but he was really trying to get the pole time. Got it. And lap 2, just a little bit quicker. By about a 1,000th of a second difference between lap 1 to lap 2, but lap 2 is a tad quicker as well. Pole time by almost 0.2 of a second for Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's a good start. And this race is half the distance of the race last night, so that's good for Dale Jr. as well. He did get a top 10 at Dover in the Busch Series race not last season, but earlier in the season, because we did race at Dover already once this year. And Clint Bowyer will be starting in 2nd place, so going to have to make sure he does not lead any laps if at all possible. It'll be the 2 blue cars battling for the championship that will start on the front row. The green flag is in the air, and Dale Jr. leads the field to the green at the Monster Mile. Clears Clint Bowyer through turns 1 and 2. Bowyer's in the wall off the exit of turn 2, and Dale Jr. gets to the bottom to block Shane Meal, who moves into 2nd. Jr. going a bit wide, though, through turns 3 and 4. Meal makes contact with him off the exit of the corner. We got trouble. Trouble. Dale Jr. will lead lap 1 under caution. Shane Meal has wrecked. And looked like everybody behind him missed him. Luckily. Caution is out for the first time today. It didn't really look like that was Dale Jr.'s fault. I think the 32 car got tight off the exit of turn number 4 because Dale Jr. was already wide in the middle of the corner. And a lap 1 caution, kind of picking up where we left off last night in the Cup race at Dover. And I'm not going to lose my track position for that. I don't think that was my fault personally. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Green flag back in the air. And we'll restart at lap 5. Billy Kramer, Trey's real fanny, welcome to the stream. Dale Jr. just can't stick the bottom of the racetrack right now. He is struggling to get down there. He's barely going to beat Shane Meal to the bottom in turn 3. Luckily, everybody missed the 32 of Meal, so there really isn't anybody with heavy damage. Clint Boyer fell back to 5th on the opening lap despite qualifying 2nd. Single file restart that time, a little bit better for Dale Jr. as JJ Yaley will take over 2nd as Shane Meal overruns turns 1 and 2. And he'll fall back a spot to 3rd, and Ryan Newman in 4th place is trying to get around Meal now. It's a good thing Dale Jr. was able to keep his car steady. He did clip the inside wall just a bit. But just lightly scraped it. Luckily he got the car straightened out before he nosed it into the wall. Once he gets a few laps after the restart, he feels confident with the clean air. You don't want to give up track position if you can help it today if you're Dale Jr. And try to get the win at Dover at all costs. But you also got to know when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive, because Miles the Monster will bite you, as we saw last night in the Cup race, and Dale Jr. got into not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 accidents. Although 2 of which he got wrecked by lap cars. So the one when Labonte pinched us when we were 3 wide off the exit of turn 2 down the back straightaway, slammed us into Elliott Sadler. That was definitely not my fault. Junior flipped in that wreck. JJ Yaley putting the pressure on Dale Jr. in the early going. Top 2 pulling away from the rest of the field. Looks like Clint Boyer's jumped right back up to 4th place again. Making a pass for position inside the top 5. Boyer pretty good at Dover throughout his NASCAR career. And this is Dale Jr.'s worst, well, this is my personally worst racetrack on this game. Dale Jr. is going to fight for the championship. He's going to have to hit his marks for all 200 laps. 10 laps in, so far so good. He's led the first 10 from the pole. Yes, I was at Watkins Glen in 2019. Beautiful area, both surrounding the racetrack and the racetrack itself. Yaley putting the pressure to Dale Jr. Trying to get underneath him. Almost did that time through turns 3 and 4. Junior's pulling away from everybody else except for JJ Yaley. I think that 18 car is just that fast. But the hardest car to pass is going to be the one with the clean air. Dale Jr. gaps him a little bit through 1 and 2 as Yaley ran a bit higher of a line. Junior doesn't want to risk it all the way down to the bottom. That's one reason why he's going a bit wide in the center of the corner. It's not so much that the car's tight, but he's desperately trying not to clip the apron because he knows his car is going to spin out if he does so. He was willing to risk it in qualifying and try to get as close as he could without touching it because he was trying to go for the pole. Now that he got the pole, he's trying to be a little bit patient, but he doesn't want to give up that inside lane and allow a car to get underneath him, get around him, or potentially cause an accident too. I don't think Dale Jr. is going to be able to exit on the outside off the exit of a corner. Kind of diming the corner off through 3 and 4 that time. Got her careful doing that though. Don't want to go that far wide on entry. Definitely allow somebody underneath you if they have a good enough of a run. Oh, you're going to the race tomorrow and Sunday. Awesome. Have fun this weekend. Yeah, it's my favorite road course of all the road courses I've been to so far. Mark DeMars, welcome into the stream. Dale Jr. would like the race to stay a little bit calmer than what it did last night. That will keep him in position to potentially just win this race straight out and straight up. It should be just a 1 pit stop race today, or right around there. It might be a 2-stopper, considering the Busch Series fuel tanks can't quite go as far as the Cup Series. The Cup Series cars were able to go barely over 100 laps. So it might potentially be a fuel mileage race later, which would definitely put an even bigger emphasis on those championship front runners at this point in the season. This is just one of those races Dale Jr. cannot worry about Clint Bowyer. He just has to worry about hitting his marks, because it's that much of a mental game that he cannot afford to make a mistake. And like I said, the good news is he doesn't have to go 400 laps without touching that apron. He just has to go 200 in the Busch Series, and he had 400 laps of practice in the Cup race yesterday. Although it was a great practice, he wrecked a few times and he finished 12th outside the top 10. Lost some of his points lead. Trying to take what he learned yesterday, applied that to practice and qualifying today, and so far it has worked out in the race as well. J.J. Yaley in the 18 car is keeping up with Dale Jr. though. Nobody else is. It's a 2-car breakaway at the front of the field right now. Take our first driver swap of the race today. We'll go back to Martin Truex Jr., who's in the 8th place position at lap 22. Truex is 5th in the point standings coming into today's race. Clint Bowyer still in 4th, it looks like. He's got a car right on his back bumper through turns 1 and 2. And off the exit of the corner. We'll see if Dale Jr. can pull away from Yaley for these couple laps while we drive as Martin Truex Jr. Had that lap 1 caution, pretty calm since. Just a single car spin from Shane Meal off the exit of turn 4. Had a lot of early cautions and a lot of races across all 3 series in this game recently, including tonight. We'll go back to Dale Jr. And Jr. side by side for the lead right now, and he's going to have to give it up. J.J. Yaley out in front. Right when we transfer back, J.J. Yaley has taken the lead away from Dale Jr. He'll pick up 5 bonus points. Yaley comes in 4th in the standings, over 300 points out of 1st. Jr. would like to get the most laps led if at all possible, but he's not going to press the issue on lap 25 to get around Yaley. But if Yaley makes a mistake, he's right there for the taking. He clips the apron. He makes contact with Yaley. Yaley might have brushed the wall as well. The only reason Jr. went for it is because Yaley left the bottom wide open as he missed the corner, but then Dale Jr. clipped the apron and washed up into the 18 car as he was side by side trying to make a pass. We'll get to see how fast this 18 car is. Will he be able to pull away from the 81? I'm trying to read your guys' chats as much as I possibly can. Just like last night, it's going to be difficult because this track is treacherous on this game. As you just saw, that big moment there from Earnhardt after the contact with the 18 car. Looks as if Clint Bowyer's potentially back to 3rd place. Jr. reels in Yaley that last lap. He was definitely quicker than him. Jr. led the first 22 laps. Yaley to the lead at lap 23. Through 1 and 2, Jr. with a run. Looking low towards turn 3. Side by side. And Jr. will complete the pass cleanly through 3 and 4, and he's back in the lead. Awesome job. 30 laps complete at the line. Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today. This might be one of the most impressive wins on the season for Dale Jr. if he can win at a track like Dover in this game in these circumstances while he's second in the point standings trying to catch Boyer. Knowing how difficult this track is and the struggles at all three series here this season despite a good finish. And if I remember correctly, I think the only reason Dale Jr. got a good finish in the Busch Series race earlier this season is because he had benefited because of a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops in which he'd stayed out on the racetrack and trapped pretty much only the 6 cars on the lead lap, and he finished last of those 6. And a track that brings a lot of cautions. It'll be interesting to see what the strategy will be in the second half of the race, but for right now, Dale Jr.'s just got to continue to hit his marks. 35 laps in. 200 laps at Dover, though, is not a long time. This race will fly by, and the intensity will continue to pick up. The next race on the channel, as far as the NASCAR video game side of things, will be another NASCAR 06 live stream, and it will be at Talladega. That will either be tomorrow night on the channel, or it will be on Monday night. It depends on if I do live commentary of the Watkins Glen Xfinity race tomorrow. There was contact between... Oh, we got trouble. Junior's around. J.J. Yaley got into him. It sounds like they're crashing hard on the outside. Yaley got into the wall. Back across the track right in front of Boyer and Martin. I don't even know how that happened. I think Yaley... Wild ride for J.J. Yaley. He took a couple big hits. I don't even know if that was necessarily a mistake from Dale Jr. But that one he was definitely involved in. It was hard to tell exactly what happened. Yaley was on the left rear corner panel of Dale Jr. and I think he got into him. Because it seemed like there was contact and Junior wasn't really turning his car and it was turning down the racetrack off the exit of turn 2.
Looks like we were the only car on pit road during that entire caution.
I don't think Junior really took a big hit into the inside wall, though. He slowed the car down pretty good. There were definitely some big hits right around where J.J. Yaley was, unfortunately, though. Might see some debris cautions potentially, but Dale Jr. now at the back of the pack. And there's only one car out of the race, so he'll restart at 42nd. And this is not what he wanted in the early going. That was our second caution of the race. Now Dale Jr. is going to have to do it the hard way. Like there was some contact potentially off the exit of turn 4 up ahead as I saw some 3 wide battling going on. Junior can't rush getting through traffic, even though it's not a long race. We only have 160 laps to go. He's been lucky not to really overly damage the car. That's twice, though, a car's gotten underneath him and clipped him in the left rear. The first time he saved it, the second time he did not, but didn't really get much damage out of it either. Just kind of lightly tagged the wall on the inside. Yaley was one that went back up the track, though, not the 81 of Earnhardt. Two cautions. I don't think we've seen the last. Knowing how many laps are still left in this race. Dale Jr. knows he's got to go. making passes. 3 laps into the restart, he's passed 3 cars, and on lap 4 after the restart, he'll pass the 4th car. Definitely got a fast race car, especially in comparison to those at the rear of the field right now. Little contact in front of him as one car got knocked to the outside lane. One fantasy driver got into another. Stacked up the 117 car who was already on the outside. Dale Jr. up to 36th. So I'm getting a little tight. This is the first time Dale Jr.'s been in traffic today. So J.J. Yaley restarted in the lead despite being involved in that last accident. Turning Dale Jr. off the exit of turn 4. That's the second race in a row at Dover in back-to-back days that an 18 car has turned Dale Jr. First it was Labonte in the Cup race, and now J.J. Yaley in the Busch race, although Yaley wasn't a rival before the contact like Labonte was last night. Part of why Dale Jr. let Yaley go as soon as Yaley got to the inside of him the first time. That time he really didn't even know he was there. Lap 50, Dale Jr. is up to 29th after restarting 42nd of the 42 cars that were still on the racetrack. And that was just 9 laps ago. 3 wide. We haven't seen 3 wide work out in the Cup race, and in this Busch race, it's going to work out for Dale Jr. as he completes the pass off the exit of turn 4, passing 3 cars that last lap between the exit of turn 2 to the exit of turn 4. I don't think the winged COT cars look... In comparison to the other stock cars that NASCAR has used in recent years, it's probably my least favorite. But I don't think it was super ugly. I don't think it was as ugly as I feel like most fans kind of tend to say. I think the fact that it was definitely not as good looking as the Gen 4 cars, and it being a downgrade for that reason, might have been the main reason why fans didn't like it as much. But I don't think it was an awfully terrible car. Looking car, at least. I don't like how they all kind of look the same from manufacturer to manufacturer, which I'm sure was some of the complaints from the fans too. That's probably my biggest gripe about it, honestly. The way this race is going right now, it's definitely looking like just a one-stopper. Dale Jr.'s back to 20th place. Oh, wow. A couple cars almost got together in the middle of turns 1 and 2. And they checked up enough with the side draft that Dale Jr. passes them both as soon as they get down to single file. Jr. drives it in deep through 3 and 4. A little risky. Never touched the apron, though. Held his marks and held his line all the way through, and he's up to 17th. And give Dale Jr. props for passing the cars cleanly, getting through the field on a very difficult track to pass. Difficult track just to race by yourself, let alone trying to pass another car and run side by side with another car in the middle of the corner. But again, Dale Jr. doing a good job of it. Looks like Gigi Yaley's pulling away at the front of the field, which goes to show that Yaley and Earnhardt definitely have the two fastest cars. It's tough to tell who's faster between the two of them. Probably give the slight edge to Dale Jr. And poor Martin Truex Jr., he is falling outside the top 10 now. Not having a great restart. Jr. making another pass for 15th. And the next car he's going to catch is Martin Truex Jr. Dale Jr. gets by Truex. Team orders allow for Jr. to get by him pretty quickly through turns 1 and 2. It's a pass for 14th. Truex will follow the 81. Favorite track in NASCAR games that I played on the channel? We've had so many thrillers at the super speedways, but same goes for real life. As far as my favorite track, it would be Bristol. We've had some good races there on the channel too, but it seems like every time we go to Talladega, no matter what game it is, we have an instant classic almost every time. So definitely be sure to tune into the next NASCAR 06 race on the Cup Series for the Do It For Dale, because we go to Talladega and the Chase next. Dale Jr. underneath Shane Meal, who spun on lap 1. Finally starting to go backwards as he is back to 14th. Just past halfway through the fuel and tire stint right now. Dale Jr. to the inside of the 21 of Brandon Miller. And he's up to 12th. Looking to get to the inside of Trigger in the 133. Slide job, oh boy. He was clear. Junior really threw it off into the corner, but he didn't want to touch the apron on the bottom because he was really close to a corner entry, and that's why the car slid so far up the racetrack, but he was luckily clear of the 133, made a clean pass for 11th place, and Brandon Miller's going to get right back by the 133 again as well to move to 12th. It seems like Clint Boyer's holding up a whole line of cars right now, and I think he's in 2nd place. I don't think he's got the speed to run in 2nd, but qualifying in 2nd place, he's been able to hold on to track position. Fortunately, Dale Jr. had spun off the front bumper of J.J. Yaley. I'm not going to say that that was necessarily his fault. Jr. now trying to close on Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. Right behind him as they enter turns 3 and 4. Kenseth crowding Dale Jr. just a little bit. Not as much though in the middle of the corner. Just on the straightaway, Kenseth crowded Earnhardt. Jr. gets by him, and Dale Jr. back inside the top 10. You can tell Dale Jr. is determined to win this race. He's got his championship face on. He is in championship mode. So he gets to the inside of Kenny Wallace for 9th. Pass made. Wallace in the wall off the exit of turn 2 as well. Allows for Dale Jr. to pull him quickly on the back straightaway. And Now he's got Bobby Labonte as the next car in front of him. Remember, Labonte had wrecked Dale Jr. Definitely knocked a lot of speed out of his car last night. Dale Jr. did not forget. Might be a different series. Labonte 7th place in points here as well. Only Bobby Labonte and Dale Jr. made the chase on the Cup Series side and are also inside the top 10 of the Busch Series standings this late in the year. 7 races to go. Dale Jr. gets into Labonte, runs him up the racetrack. Little bump and run to get by him for 8th. It was kind of dangerous to do that, but he was able to make the pass. Now rides in line behind John Hamilton. Labonte overdrives 1 and 2. Almost got into the wall. John Hamilton down low. Dale Jr. going even lower. 3 wide in turn 3. Contact up the track goes one car on the outside in the 135. He lost a spot to both Dale Jr. and John Hamilton that time, and luckily nobody wrecked. Jr. threw it in 3 wide late. And now the 135 trying to get back to the inside of Dale Jr. He is there. Jr. has to hold the outside. Now a block on the back straightaway as he got to run up the banking of the corner. He gets back down to the bottom in time. Tony Raines on the inside of it. Looks like Mark Martin in the 9 car. Martin also involved in that last accident. Jr. to the inside of John Hamilton through turns 1 and 2 will make the pass. Raines completes the pass on Martin simultaneously for 4th. Hamilton brushes the wall off of turn 2. Lost a bit of ground. I don't think last night personally was a good race. Oh, contact. Jr. got into Martin. Martin in the wall. Bounces back into Earnhardt. I didn't even think Dale Jr. was that close to the back of the 9 car, but I guess he was. Gotta be careful chopping down in front of the 120 like that off the exit of turn 4, but he was clear. Hamilton was able to get by Martin for position as well, and he is keeping the pressure on Dale Jr. right now. Last night was definitely a sloppy race. Today has been a lot better. Kind of a sloppy start. Oh, Tony Raines got in the wall. Lost a bit of ground on the 2 cars in front of him. Dale Jr., John Hamilton side by side through 1 and 2. And Jr.'s able to get to the bottom before Mark Martin also gets to the inside of the 81. J.J. Haley is getting away, though. Clint Boyer's holding everybody up. It's a 1 pit stop race. Jr. sends it deep into 1 and 2. Slides up, clear the 120 of Hamilton. Hamilton going to try the crossover off the exit of turn 2. Jr. hangs on in front of him, and again back to 5th. A little battle for position between the 81 and the 120. Got Bowyer, Casey Kane, Tony Raines in front of him. Dale Jr. to the inside of Tony Raines off turn 2 for 4th. Slides up the track. He got tight in line behind Casey Kane, but he was clear the 33, and I think Raines might have gotten out of the gas and let Dale Jr. in front of him when he saw the 81 move up the track like that, and that's going to cost Raines another spot or 2 as well, other than just Dale Jr. getting by. It looks like Hamilton and Mark Martin will get by as well. Santiago Kid, welcome to the stream. Just because last night was a glorified demolition derby doesn't mean it was. If it was a wreck fest and kind of like Watkins Glen was, where it was a wreck fest, but I wasn't really involved in many of the accidents, hardly any at all, that'd be one thing. But because I was involved in a handful of them last night, at least 4 of them, I didn't feel like I ran a good race myself. I don't like it when it gets that sloppy for myself in the driving. I mean, if it is from the AI, I can't do anything about it. You know, so be it. Much rather see that. And right now, Dale Jr. is up to third and right behind the points leader, Clint Boyer. Boyer trying to block down to the bottom of the track in turns 1 and 2. Holds on to the position. Dale Jr. not going to race Clint Boyer super clean. Two have had a couple run-ins already this year. Dale Jr. going to run the 2-car up the track just a bit. Boyer's, oh, and caution's out further back in the pack. And I think Dale Jr. had his bumper out in front of Boyer and will be able to be in second place after the caution. So caution is out. One car has crashed, bringing out our third yellow of the day. Oh, man, big hit at the bottom. Another hit in the driver's side door. The 113 car that spun into the wall got clocked by about 2 or 3 more cars and ricocheting effects as he backed down the banking of the racetrack. Dale Jr. gonna pit and everybody else is gonna stay out. Wow, that's gonna hurt, losing all that track position. 4 tires and fuel, no adjustments for the 81 of Dale Jr. He'll pit from second. But nobody else comes down with him, and Dale Jr. is gonna go right to the back. Everybody else is gonna end up pitting within the next 20 to 30 laps, splitting this race in half. Junior really needs this to play green now.
Nobody else decided to come in.
Well, green flag back in the air. Dale Jr.'s got a lot fresher tires than the rest of the field. We'll go green here at lap 87. Does Dale Jr. have enough fuel to make it to the end of this race? He'll have to go 114 laps. Boy, I don't know. That was not the best timing caution for Dale Jr. He was setting himself up in a good spot. He's had a great race so far. And now he's at the back. He does have fresher tires, and he's going to have to go. Because he doesn't know if he's going to be good on fuel to the end. And if everybody's going to have to pit one more time, he's going to have to get all those spots back. And these last 113 laps now as he gets by one car first lap after the restart. Gets underneath another one off the exit of turn 4. Junior getting pinched. He clipped the apron. Contact up the track. Didn't wreck. Luckily didn't wreck. Got one of the 2 spots he tried to go for. He didn't have a lot of room, and he clipped the apron. It's only the second time Dale Jr.'s even clipped the apron in 90 laps, and luckily he did not wreck either time. But he had made contact with the car on the outside both times. So that was a little bit more egregious than the first time through. Now he's getting blocked. Ducking down low off turn 4. He's got fresher tires. And he was much faster than the cars at the back anyway. The 117 just wiggled a bit. Nearly got up into the outside wall in turns 1 and 2. I don't think there was any contact with the car that was behind him. Don't think I can make it on fuel. I unfortunately don't think so either. I was expecting more cars to pit there, to be completely honest. I was expecting, honestly, most of the field to pit, considering nobody has pit yet, but because they don't think they're within the window, that's probably why they didn't pit. Again, Dale Jr. would have to go 114 laps on fuel. See, if I remember right, in the Cup race, he went 113, but it's going to be harder to stretch it in the Busch Series. Knowing the fuel tanks aren't as big. A little contact as there was a little bit of a 3-wide battle going on into turns 3 and 4. Junior makes the pass. They did not wreck. Remember, if he causes... Oh, we got trouble! Car around, and Junior just misses it as he clobbers the next 2 cars in line behind Dale Jr. Oh, my goodness. Another big wreck. That car got hit. The 107 got launched up the racetrack. He got tagged in the back bumper, which sent him up into the outside wall. And then back down as Dale Jr. just missed the spinning car to the inside. Didn't have much room to go, and he was just hoping that that car was not going to back it down the track. And we'll see if the field will pit this time. Our 4th yellow of the race, and that's another reason why you don't want to be at the back. Nobody's going to pit this time. Dale Jr. will pit. This is going to get him much closer to the end on fuel. It's going to be a second set of tires going on the race car, but he can top off on fuel. He can take 4 fresh tires again as everybody else stays out. Double air caution. Good golly. My life flashed before my eyes there for a second. That was a close one. Code Brown. Code Brown. Little detour by the Jackman. Dale Jr. could have DNF'd in that crash. And that would have ended his championship hopes. He's going to be at the back again because he will pit. He only lost about a handful of positions, so green flag back in the air. And we will be just 3 laps shy of the halfway mark. A lot more likely Dale Jr. could try to stretch it on fuel to the end of the race now, but we'll see. When will everybody start hitting pit road? When will and we have cars pitting right now, first lap after the restart. And one car's blowing up going into the pits, which is going to slow everybody else down that is in the pit lane. Dale Jr. makes a pass through turns 1 and 2. I mean, 4 caution laps, still has about 85 lap fresher tires on the rest of the field right now. Can Dale Jr. go 103 laps on fuel at Dover? These guys are pitting just after the restart, but didn't pit during the caution because they probably didn't think they can make it. And will we stay green to get all the way through the green flag pit stops? Because we see cautions in the middle of green flag stops a lot. Big checkup. Turns 3 and 4. Junior got on the brakes in time. A lot of cars pitted in front of him. Remember, Dover's a very difficult track to get onto pit road under green flag conditions. This is going to help Dale Jr. lead a bunch of laps and potentially get the most laps led as well. He's going to make a pass into turns 3 and 4. Expecting to check up with more cars pitting up ahead, so he ran the outside of corner entry. Dives down to the bottom in the middle to the exit of the corner. The 86 car trying to side draft him on the front straightaway as Junior makes the pass for 9th. Matt Kenseth to the lead for the first time today. J.J. Yaley's led a bunch. Remember, Dale Jr. led a lot of laps before having to go to the tail the first time because of getting clipped by J.J. Yaley. Looks like Mark Truex Jr. is finally in. Dale Jr. to 4th. One of the fantasy drivers is leading. I think the 135 car's out in front. Good news is Clint Boyer has not led, despite being inside the top 5 all day. Potential fuel mileage race so at Dover. Dale Jr. trying to outclass the field. He's only got to go 1 extra lap compared to everybody else. That's 1 mile. 1 more mile. He's going to have to make it on fuel to dominate and win this race. Caution comes out in the middle of, well, not green flag pit stops. Once everybody cycles through, really, because Junior's going to stay out. Even if he doesn't pit, or doesn't, even if he has to pit, he's not going to pit till later in the race in case he catches a caution, trapping the entire field a lap down. Bobby Labonte now in the lead as he is going to get 5 bonus points, coming in 7th in the standings. Labonte will stay out this time by as well. Closing in fast on the second place car in front of him. And I think that second place car is pitting this time as well as Bobby Labonte. Dale Jr. goes wide to miss him. so he didn't have to lift any extra. Dale Jr. back to the lead at lap 107 at Dover. Now just has to be smooth and hope he has enough fuel to make it these final 94 laps. Now we pray. What a wreck avoidance at the back of the field. He went from almost DNFing, potentially. Definitely would have been involved in the accident where he couldn't have taken fuel or tires. Barely missed the wreck in front of him. 3 cars total ended up being involved. Got to pit. Went off strategy by really only just 1 lap. And now has a shot to win this race. Michael, don't you mention Miles Monster. He's imaginary. He's not real. It's like the Tooth Fairy. Only a lot meaner and nastier. The only time he takes your teeth is when he knocks them out of your mouth. And he doesn't give you any money for it either. In fact, he probably takes your money. Now we're just making Miles the Monster out to be like an ex-convict. He's like the reverse Incredible Hulk. Well, he's not green either. Oscar Ramirez Herrera, welcome into the stream. If you're just tuning in for the first time and wondering why Dale Jr.'s got a 1-lap lead on the field, he pitted during the last caution when nobody else did. This is going to give him the 1-lap lead, allow him to lead a bunch of laps, probably end up leading the most. And now he's hoping he can make it on field at the end of the race. Caution! For the 5th time today, and that is going to trap the field a lap down. That is what Dale Jr. needed. Debris off the 117 car, who I believe was one of the cars involved in the last accident. It looked like he shedded 2 pieces of debris at the same time. His hood and something else came off the car. Well, now Dale Jr. can pit just to make sure he's going to make it on fuel. And so that way the cars behind him aren't going to have fresher tires. He'll be the one on fresher tires. And he still has 1 more set left after this one. So that is the 5th caution of the race. If I am correct, correct me if I'm wrong if it's 6, but I do believe that was number 5. I think that's the first debris caution. I don't think we've had any other debris cautions. Miles the Monster's destroying cars again tonight. Yes, he is. Luckily, I'm not making the mistakes this time. So here we go. Green flag back in the air. So Dale Jr.'s back at 5th place. And I'm not sure why. We know he's good on fuel to the end. So only one car should have gotten the free pass there, and Dale Jr. still should have been the leader on the restart. But instead, now he is in 5th, as J.J. Yaley and Casey Kane are battling for the lead at the front of the field. I'm confused. "81 laps to go at Dover." I am extremely confused right now as to why Dale Jr. is at where he's at in the field right now. Why he was at the back and why he was not in the lead, and why there are even more cars on the lead lap than what there should have been. There should only be 2 cars on the lead lap, and Dale Jr. should be the one in the lead. Well, whatever the case is, now he's going to have to fight his way all the way back up through the field again. I mean, the good news is he's in the top 5, but the bad news is he should be the leader. Which is also costly because he had a shot to lead the most laps today, and now he probably doesn't have an opportunity to do that. Oh man, he just got into that car on the outside, moved him up into the wall. Junior needs to get through. Hey, quickly, he doesn't have much time. Matt Kenseth to the lead. John Hamilton was able to lead a lap. Car on the outside is squeezing Dale Jr. Jr. goes up the track and makes contact. Oh, man. Got a little sketchy. Couple times there. Jr. slides the tires into turn 1. He overdrove the corner that time. And now he's struggling with the cars at the back of the pack trying to pass him, because of how difficult it is to pass at Dover. Junior clips the apron. Luckily he didn't spin, and luckily he was clear of the car that was on his outside. Car on his outside just got in the wall too. I'm hoping if we get another caution that could actually line Dale Jr. right back up with the rest of the leaders. So I don't think a caution now would be bad. I'm just trying to figure out why. Again, Dale Jr. should be in the lead. Should be leading, and then one car should have got back on the lead lap and restarted behind him. At worst, Dale Jr. would have been second on the restart, behind the car that got the free pass, because the car that got the free pass stayed out, even though out of technicality Dale Jr. still should have been ahead of him. But at that I could have lived with. But restarting at the tail of the field and in 5th, I'm not happy about, because Dale Jr. needs to lead all the laps he can. He's got a car capable of it, and he should be leading laps. So this could cost Dale Jr. 5 bonus points. Even if he gets back up through the field and wins the race, it's going to cost him 5 points at the very least. If not, potentially cost him a win if he can't even get back up to the lead. Junior lost a tire on pit. Yeah. Pit road speeding. Contact into turn 1. He overdrove the corner at the same time the 56 kind of came down and crowded him. Junior spins, clips the apron, and gets creamed by the car behind him. That's the first time he has spun hitting the apron today. Did it a couple times last night. Seemed to do it in 3 and 4 a lot. See, and the problem is now he's trying to push, and he's pushing too hard because he's put in a predicament that he shouldn't be in. Either way, that is caution number 6. Junior cannot pit for fuel or tires being involved in the accident. The only bright side is that might actually put him further back up towards the front of the field, which he should be at the front of the field anyway.
We were the only car on pit road during that entire time.
I just hope that damage and that hit to the left rear quarter panel isn't too significant in the aerodynamics and the speed of the race car. Green flag back in the air. Looks like Clint Boyer's still lapped down. So we go back to green flag racing. And Dale Jr. going to get to the bottom very quickly going into turns 1 and 2 as he gets down in front of his teammate Martin Truex Jr. J.J. Yaley right in front of Dale Jr. Now Jr. can't afford to make a mistake now. He got bailed out the first time after a game glitch cost him before that. Side by side with J.J. Yaley. Trying to pick Yaley behind the lap car. Contact, the 135 into the wall on the outside. Contact's also going to cause J.J. Yaley to stack up behind the 135. Dale Jr. is up to 4th with that pass on Yaley. Casey Kane taking the lead on the restart. Clint Boyer's trying to get his lap back as he's on the outside of Matt Kenseth, who's in 2nd. Raines into the wall. And Jr. got into him after Tony Raines got into the wall. Raines is a lap down. Was that last restart the last restart of the race? Six cautions so far. Boyer trying to at least get in the free pass position at all costs, even if he can't get back on the lead lap. And I believe he's in the free pass spot right now. He may be battling Mark Martin for it. I definitely know the 3 cars in front of him are on the lead lap. Martin is a lap down. And Martin just got the wall off turn 4. Lost a bit of time. Dale Jr. overdrives turns 1 and 2. Boyer did also, though. Boyer to the outside. Jr. gets the car to get back down to the bottom much quicker than the 2 of Boyer. And he runs Clint up the track. Runs Clint Boyer up the racetrack. And Boyer's in the wall off turn 4 as well. And Martin gets by him for the free pass position. One car on pit road has just blown an engine at the back of the pack. We continue to stay green. 60 laps to go at Dover. Crossing over back and forth is John Hamilton and Matt Kenseth as they're side by side. Dale Jr. right behind them both. Going to the bottom, 3 wide for 2nd. Hamilton squeezes in the middle, thought about it, Jr. goes up the track. Almost made contact with Kenseth. They did a great job keeping it off of him, but even Kenseth slowed up, probably bracing for impact. And Jr. makes the pass all the worthwhile. There's some contact at the back of the pack, it looked like, off turn 2. There was a lot of smoke there, but there was no caution, and Dale Jr. is up to P2 and trying to run down Casey Kane for the lead. That was an aggressive move by Earnhardt. It paid off, and he made a clean pass with it. Going 3 wide for 2nd. At a track where it is very risky. He is putting the championship on his shoulders at this point. And with Boyer lap down, even though he's in the top 10. a chance to gain some points today. And the quicker he can get to the lead, the more of a shot he has of leading the most laps. It's going to be really close between him and Yaley. The way things are right now. Slowly closing in on Casey Kane. Pushing a little too hard, though. He got back in the gas a bit too soon. Scraped the wall lightly off turn 4. .55 laps to go at the line for Casey Kane. Dale Jr. way down on the inside. Drives it deep into turns 1 and 2. Goes up the hill. Widens the 79 car up the racetrack just a bit, and Dale Jr. is going to get to the lead. Junior Nation on their feet at Dover. Earnhardt out in front with 54 laps to go. Will we stay green to the finish now? Second and final field pass of the race. Oh, jeez. Oh, Truex, no! We just swapped to him and he wrecked off of turn 4, and that will bring out caution number 7. And the 131 car got oh my goodness, the 131 went up and over. He was an innocent bystander. That was like almost, that was like Dale Jr. and Steve Park at Pocono, only it was Martin Truex Jr. in the 131 car at Dover. Well, that's unfortunate. Truex is going to be going to the back. And Jr.'s going to have to survive another restart at the front of the field this time. Ouch. I probably should have waited to actually accept the swap until I got to the straightaway. I usually do that. I didn't there, and it just kind of turned my car to the left, unfortunately. Game with BT NASCAR, welcome to the stream. There have been a lot of glitches at Dover. Between last night's race and tonight's race, it's almost like NASCAR 21 ignition kind of glitches with like scoring. It's very weird. We're going to have another restart. Green flag back in the air. 50 laps to go. 49 actually, because Truex is a lap down. 49 laps to go. 117 car spun his tires on the restart. Truex all the way back to 40th. We get one spot back in turns 1 and 2 with the 117 not taking off well in front of him. Can Dale Jr. hold on to the lead at the front of the field now? We'll swap back to Dale Jr. very soon. But one more lap after this restart with Truex. With the field congested together once again, will they make it? Truex just ran right in the side of another car. Trying to barrel his way through. Truex still in the top 5 in points. Whatever hope of the championship he has left. If Boyer DNFs, he needs to get going. Side by side for 35th as we'll go back to Dale Jr. Jr. is underneath Boyer. He got a little loose. I am not controlling Dale Jr. either. Jr.'s still in the lead. All the cars that passed him were a lap down. He's trying to get his speed back in the middle of the corner. Well, the good news is Dale Jr.'s in the lead. The bad news is Clint Boyer and a few other cars are back on the lead lap. But especially Boyer, with being the points leader back on the lead lap, is not a good thing for Earnhardt. My guess is they got around him on the inside on the restart because all the lap cars are on the inside of the lead lap cars. And when they got their lap back, Jr. was able to get back down to the bottom. He was looking to pass it back again. Kenseth looking low for the lead. Junior had the lift to keep it off the wall, off turn 4. Kenseth back out in front. Kenseth's going up the hill a little bit. Junior diving the corner off. He gets the run on the exit. Kenseth looking for a block. Oh, no! Big hit into the wall. Contact between the 81 and the 17. Kenseth holds on to the lead. He's in the wall again. I think Kenseth tried to block Dale Jr. and he was not clear because Jr. I'm surprised there was even contact there. No wreck. Now Junior's under him again. This time he runs him into the wall. And back in the lead is Dale Jr. at Dover. Goodness gracious. 42 laps to go. I think that's J.J. Yaley up to second unless he's a lap down. And he's got a fast car. He's led the most laps in tonight's race so far. Caution, back in the pack. Another restart awaits. Our 8th yellow of the race. And it's debris off the 131. Well, we get a chance to breathe a little bit again. Corey Freet, welcome to the stream. Green flag back in the air. Great launch on the restart by Dale Jr. He quickly gets down to the bottom in front of the lap cars. That was a great restart by the 81. And caution. Trouble off turn 2. There's a big wreck. Big wreck after the restart. They couldn't even get a lap in. 138 slid wide into the wall. Mark Martin gets turned behind him. And they still hit each other down on the bottom of the track. I couldn't tell if they were 3 wide or not. I don't think there was a car underneath the 138, but there might have been. He might have been 3 wide middle. No, he was not. They were just side by side. He lost it. Juanita Luna, welcome to the stream. Jeez. Junior nailed that restart. Now he's going to have to try and do it again. And again, the green flag is back in the air. And we're down to just 33 laps to go. Forces the 10 car out of the way. Junior is aggressively trying to get back to the inside again. Not a clean restart that time, but still able to get to the lead. Or hang on to the lead and get in front of the lappers. Hopefully he can get away. Dale Jr. has survived everything that this race has thrown at him so far, and he is in the lead with just 31 laps to go. 174 points back of Boyer, and looking for his 10th win in the Busch Series season. Can't afford to make a mistake while leading. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's Casey Kane in second place, who's just gotten around the lap cars. He's a half a second off the lead and trying to run the 81 down. And we have had a lot of cautions today. We'll see if we stay green to the end after this most recent restart. The field's still pretty well bunched together right now. The most difficult track perhaps on this game. No, Edwards is not the points leader in the Busch Series. Clint Boyer is the points leader. And Dale Jr.'s growing the lead out now that he's got clean air and he's got an advantage. Built up a gap. He's got an 0.8 of a second lead. We'll alternate through the different camera angles one more time yet in today's race. Will it stay green? I know Junior's hoping it does. There's quite a few more cars on the lead lap because 4 of them got by on the second to last restart. Oh, it's got Edwards in the points? I apologize for that. I didn't even realize that till you mentioned something. No, Clint Boyer's the points leader. I apologize. I didn't even realize I had Edwards as the points leader on here. It's supposed to be Boyer. Edwards isn't even in the top 10. He hasn't ran every race. He does have 4 wins. So the only car that can really compete with Dale Jr. on speed is J.J. Yaley. Jr.'s pulling away from everybody else. As long as he makes it through the restarts, he's pretty good otherwise. He's got to be careful not to push it too hard. Just let the car do its work for him and just try not to clip that apron down on the bottom of the racetrack. Don't want to go too far to the outside like he did that time. He'll start losing a bit of ground. Halfway out of fuel. It doesn't matter though, just 23 to go. It was looking like it was going to matter for a while until we started getting more cautions and he was able to pit top off. A couple different times. Doesn't plan on pitting anymore in this race though. About clipped the apron there. So hard not to do it on this game. Most tracks, but this track, for whatever reason, is a lot more difficult to drive. Even if I back the pace up. Because your natural line is to get as close to it as you can without hitting it. I mean, that's just natural. But it's just unforgiving at this track for whatever reason, and you spin out easily, as Junior did once earlier in the race. The one time he did it, though, it actually got him back into it when he shouldn't have restarted at the back anyway because of a game glitch. Which stinks because that probably took about 30 to 40 laps away from him that he could have led. Which could potentially take away 5 extra bonus points for leading the most laps. I don't think he's going to lead the most laps. One car has blown an engine, trying to get the pit road in turns 3 and 4 right now, and it looks like he'll be able to make it. So we continue to stay green. No caution. Couldn't tell who that was. It was a brighter colored car. Ice Demon King 92 Hammer, welcome to the stream. Subbing and liking, appreciate that. Thank you. Probably a fantasy driver, probably. I was hoping it was Boyer, but it's too good to be true. I don't know who's in second place right now, but somebody is closing in on Dale Jr., and Jr.'s not really making any mistakes either. He had a 1.3 second lead, it's down to 1.1. Jr.'s got the clean air advantage, though. It's going to be tough for that second place car to get around him, even if he gets to him. Unless he puts the bumper to him, which isn't impossible, knowing this game. It's actually happened a couple times to Dale Jr. when he's led already today. Lost the lead because of a bump and run. Cars and Thomas Productions, welcome to the stream. Just in time for the finish. Yes, you are. 14 to go. This time by Dale Jr. trying to get his 10th Busch Series win and close in on Boyer. Again, 174 points is the difference. Just over one race worth. Boyer has not led a lap today either, so that's going to help Dale Jr., but Jr. might not be able to get the most laps led. Do the burnout on the finish line? Sure. In the heat of the moment, if I remember to. Alright, so never mind. Dale Jr. will get the most laps led as he has clinched at that time at the start-finish line with 13 laps to go. So it took till late in the race to receive the word, but Dale Jr. will lead the most laps, so that means if he wins, he's going to get a max points day on the most difficult track on this game. And we will have just 6 races to go as we head to Kansas in the next Busch Series race next week. Besides, he's always talking about me choking. I can understand in the Cup Series you saying that because Jimmy Johnson's in it. Jimmy Johnson's not in this race. Right, Jimmy Johnson can't win. Still 1.1 second lead. That second place car is not really closing in anymore. Junior's holding his own. Just hoping everybody else doesn't wreck. If we get a caution with 5 or less laps to go, it could end the race, potentially. Be interested to see if they would get another restart if there was a wreck. 10 to go. And because we have 10 laps left, if a caution comes out now, the lap cars will not be on the inside of the lead lap cars. They will have to be behind all the lead lap cars on the restart in a single file line. 9 to go. Looks like it's primarily a 2-car breakaway if you look at the track map on the upper right-hand corner of the screen as well. Everybody else is fading. Seven laps remain. It was a 9/10 of a second lead a couple laps ago. Then Junior's picked it up over the last couple laps again and pulled away about a 1/10 of a second a lap the last couple times by. That time pretty even was second. 6 to go. Looks like Yaley's in second. That's possible. That would make sense because he was really the only car that was competitive with me on speed the entire race. Unless you're talking about Yaley that blew an engine. In that case, it would be unfortunate for him because he was 4th in points coming in. Might drop him outside of the top 5. Four to go. I think back to that wreck very early in the race. Well, it was about midway through the race. When Dale Jr. pitted to go off strategy. And then there was a wreck a couple laps after the restart right in front of him. A 3-car crash in which he had missed it to the bottom of the track. Kept his race alive. Eventually got back to the lead on pit stops and other circumstances and getting good restarts. Trapping most of the field a lap down on that various strategy. And now with 2 laps to go, he leads by 1.2 seconds. He's managing a good gap. They'll be coming to the white flag. That means no caution will be on the final lap in this game. Junior 0.2 of a second quicker than second place at last lap. He really was booking it, trying to see that white flag as soon as possible. No shot at a green-white checker. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will win his 10th Busch Series race of the season. He'll do it at the toughest of them all in NASCAR 06. Junior's a winner at the Monster Mile in Dover. Another step closer to catching Boyer in the championship hunt. Clutch win for Dale Jr. at this point in the season. When we came into the race knowing it was not going to be easy, it wasn't. But he still was able to not only win the race, but he also clinches the most laps led. It's a max points day. He'll get 190 points. It'll be time to see where Boyer finished. Here's the finish line burnout. And Juanita wanted to see. It was a crazy race, nonetheless. It ended pretty calmly compared to most of the Busch Series races and most of the races we tend to have at Dover, but Dale Jr. wins. Clint Boyer battled back from a lap down to finish in second. Of course. So Dale Jr.'s not going to gain many points, unfortunately. And it's saying Boyer led a lap today, and I don't remember him leading a lap either. It must have been during green flag pit stops when I wasn't paying attention earlier, because I don't remember him leading a lap. But that's the only way he would have led a lap today, was during green flag pit stops. So, in retrospect, we actually only gained 15 points on Clint Boyer, which is another good reason we won, because otherwise if we didn't, Clint Boyer was going to win and he was probably going to kick us out of the championship. But at least we closed in a bit. But obviously with 6 races to go, if Boyer keeps having runs like that, we're never going to catch him. Even if we keep having max points days, it's just impossible. He needs to have at least one bad race. He needs to finish outside the top 10 at least once, even if he doesn't DNF. If he finishes outside the top 10 and we get like a max points day, we can cut the lead under 100 and we'll still have 5 races to go outside of that one race that we would end up catching. 96 laps led for Dale Jr. from the pole. 9 cautions for 27 caution laps. 1 hour, 47 minutes total time on tonight's race. 1.4 seconds margin of victory. 112.03 miles per hour was the average race speed, and 24 lead changes. Boyer led 1 lap, finishing in second. Great run for Clint. I mean, what? We've won 10 races. We won 10 races. Clint Boyer's won 8. And that is at least 4 races we have won that Boyer finished second. 4 that I can think of off the top of my head. There may be more, but at least 4 races we won and Boyer finished second. That's how crazy good of a season Clint Boyer's had. Also, I tallied my average finish, which is obviously going to go up a tick with this win. So I tallied my average finish for the Busch Series. 12.8 average finish. Now we have, that was coming into the race. It's going to be a little bit better than that now. It's probably going to be close to about a 12 even. 10 wins. All right, 10 wins, 12 top 5s, and 19 top 10s. And we are still a full race worth of points behind Clint Boyer. And now after leading 96 laps today, that is going to give me 1,918 laps led. 1,918 laps led on the season. Leading 96 today. And still, despite all those crazy good stats, again, we are a full race worth of points still out of first. This is back-to-back wins for Dale Jr., winning at Richmond and winning at Dover today. He's won 3 of the last 4 races, and he's won 4 of the last 6 races. So we are on a little bit of a hot streak with Dale Jr. right now. Our top 7 streak stays alive. We finished, well, never mind. We finished 13th at California. Outside of the 13th place finish at California, though, I finished 7th or better in 9 of the last 10 races. And we've led laps in 9 of the last 10 races as well. Led at least 1 lap. So, I mean, I'm doing everything I can in the Busch Series. I started off slow, which is definitely going to hurt if I don't win the championship with it being a full season points format. I don't know. We'll see. We'll take a look at the rest of the top 10. Sorry for that. Casey Kane finishes in 3rd. Matt Kenseth 4th. And Lance Trigger, fantasy driver, finishes 5th. Ryan Newman 6th. Mark Martin 7th. John Hamilton in 8th. J.J. Yaley 9th. Martin Truex Jr. rounds out the top 10. He was the first car 1 lap down, so 9 cars finished on the lead lap. And Yaley did finish. He ended up leading 68 laps. So I wonder who DNF'd at the end. I was thinking it was Yaley too. Somebody else mentioned in the chat that they thought it was Yaley, and I was starting to think so also. Aaron Crocker, Kenny Wallace, Erickson, and Shields were the drivers at DNF. So whoever this A. Shields guy is, some fantasy driver, he was the one that DNF'd with 20 to go. 4 drivers failed to finish, and Crocker came into the race 9th in the point standings. That might knock her outside the top 10, potentially, if not back to 10. All right, we'll check out the updated point standings. I mean, it should only be, 159 points out of first. 6 races to go. We have a race at Kansas. We have a race at Charlotte. We have a fantasy track, which I'm not sure where that last fantasy track is at yet. So we have, again, Kansas, Charlotte, fantasy track, Texas. So 3 mile and a halves in the next 4 races. Texas, I remember Texas being wild too. I ran really well at Texas, but I remember the rest of the field was having problems wrecking in the Texas race. So that might be a wild one. Phoenix. I was fast in the Busch race there. I didn't win it, but I competed for the win. That's going to be a lot like today where track position is going to matter. It's going to be tough to pass. So if we qualify well, I think I'll have a shot to win that, and then Homestead would be the final race. So, yeah, check out the points. And we'll stay in this championship fight to the very end. If we go into Homestead with just a shot, we'll still run it. And Clint Boyer DNFs, it's going to be a super tight battle between Boyer and Earnhardt. It can be, even if he doesn't DNF. I mean, we've closed that gap. We were 469 points back at one point. We were 469 points back, 11th in the standings at one point, and now we're only 159 back in second. So we've come a long ways, but the potential greatest comeback in NASCAR Busch Series history to win the championship, it's not looking great. Dale Jr.'s got over a full race worth of points over 3rd himself on J.J. Yaley, so even if Boyer DNFs, I mean, it's still going to be just a 2-horse race for the championship unless Boyer DNFs twice in the last 6 races and Earnhardt DNFs once. Truex is still 5th in points. Crocker DNF'd, but she's still 9th. Alright, well that's going to round it out today. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Our next live stream on the channel for NASCAR 6 will be the Cup Series at Talladega. That will either be tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or I will be doing live commentary. Well, it'll be after the Xfinity race. If the Xfinity race goes past 6, then we'll just live stream that race after the Xfinity race. If I get home early enough tomorrow from work, I may potentially be doing live commentary for the Xfinity race tomorrow. So I'll definitely let you guys know. I'll let you guys know about 1:30, 2 o'clock tomorrow on the community tab if I will be doing a live commentary for the Xfinity race. And if I do, I'll be going live for that at 3, right before the race starts. It won't be a pre-race for that one for time constraint reasons, and I usually don't for the Xfinity and Truck Series live stream. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you for your appreciation and support as always. And as always, like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. On the road to 3,000 subs. On the road to becoming a NASCAR commentator for future races, real races at that, down the road. Thank you guys again. Great night of racing. Great way to kickstart the weekend. The comeback continues for Dale Jr. in the Busch Series. And we will be back to racing again here soon on the channel. See you guys tomorrow.